Our journey today is Jerusalem's Ottoman city wall, a journey through history. Imagine a city with layers of history, where each stone tells a tale of empires, cultures, and transformations. This is the story of Jerusalem's Ottoman city wall, a remarkable structure that encapsulates centuries of urban development and historical change. The tour of the southern part of the walls begins near the Tower of David. The Tower of David is an ancient citadel located near the Jaffa Gate entrance to the Old City of Jerusalem. The citadel that stands today dates to the Mamluk and Ottoman periods. It was built on the site of a series of earlier ancient fortifications of the Hasmonean, Herodian, Byzantine, and early Muslim periods, after being destroyed repeatedly during the last decades of Crusader presence in the Holy Land by their Muslim enemies. When the Ottomans arrived in Jerusalem in 1516, they found a city that had seen better days. Imagine a worn-out, neglected place with crumbling structures and minimal infrastructure. But something remarkable was about to happen. A transformation that would reshape the city's physical and cultural landscape. At the heart of this story is Sultan Suleiman, a remarkable ruler who reigned from 1520 to 1566. Unlike many rulers who focused solely on military conquests, Suleiman was also a passionate builder and urban developer. He saw Jerusalem not just as a strategic location, but as a sacred city with profound cultural significance. The wall's purpose: more than just defense. Contrary to what you might expect, these walls weren't primarily designed for military protection. While they were thick enough to provide some security against local raids, their purpose was more nuanced. Historians suggest the walls served multiple functions. 1. Defining the city's boundaries. The walls clearly mark the limits of the Holy City, giving it a sense of identity and structure. 2. Protecting residents. They offered protection against Bedouin raids and local marauders. 3. Symbolic significance. The walls were a way of asserting Muslim presence and importance in a city sacred to multiple religions. Architectural and cultural details. The wall's construction was a massive undertaking that took 3 to 4 years. Arabic inscriptions on the wall provide fascinating historical markers. For instance, an inscription at the Jaffa Gate reads like a historical document, mentioning Sultan Suleiman and the year of construction. The wall's construction had profound effects on the city. Before the wall, Jerusalem had around 10,000 residents. By 1540, just a few years after the wall's completion, the population had grown to 16,000. This wasn't just a physical barrier, it was a catalyst for urban growth and development. The length of the walls is 4,018 meters, 2.497 miles. Their average height is 12 meters, 39 feet. And the average thickness is 2.5 meters, 8.2 feet. The walls contain 34 watchtowers and 7 main gates open for traffic, with 2 minor gates reopened by archaeologists. Walking along the western section of Jerusalem's city walls, visitors can observe some of the earliest neighborhoods developed outside the historic Old City. 2 notable examples are Mishkanot Sha'ananim and Yemen Moshe, which represent significant milestones in Jerusalem's urban expansion during the 19th century. These neighborhoods mark an important period when residents began to establish communities beyond the traditional city walls, reflecting the city's growing population and changing urban landscape. At the base of this wall section, archaeological evidence reveals a fascinating layered history of Jerusalem. This area serves as a remarkable archaeological cross-section, showcasing remnants from multiple historical periods. Visitors can observe archaeological remains including a tomb system dating back to the First Temple period, wall fragments from different historical eras including Hasmonean period, Roman period, Byzantine period, Muslim period. These archaeological layers provide a unique visual representation of Jerusalem's complex historical development, demonstrating how civilizations built upon and transformed the same geographical space over centuries. Each layer tells a story of the city's continuous inhabitation and architectural evolution, offering insights into the architectural and cultural practices of different historical societies. Upon reaching the southwestern corner of the wall, we gained a clear view of Mount Zion. Mount Zion is a significant hill located southwest of Jerusalem's old city walls, with a rich historical heritage dating back to the Canaanite and Jebusite periods. This mountain is a sacred site for three major religions, hosting important cultural and religious landmarks. Key locations include the traditional burial site of King David and the Room of the Last Supper. Despite being outside the city walls, Mount Zion remains an integral part of Jerusalem's historical and spiritual landscape, symbolizing the city's profound religious and cultural significance. Changes and transformations. The wall's story didn't end with its construction. Over centuries, it underwent numerous changes. In the 19th century, for example, new gates were added. The new gate was opened in 1889 to help Christian quarter residents move more easily between their homes and public buildings. In 1898, during a significant visit by the German Emperor Wilhelm II, parts of the wall were modified. A road was paved near the Jaffa Gate, showing how the city continued to evolve and adapt. As we approach the middle of the southern side of the wall, we find Zion Gate. Zion Gate is one of Jerusalem's 7 historic Old City gates, featuring a defensive design common to most wall gates. The entrance is positioned at a 90-degree angle, a strategic layout intended to slow down potential attackers by forcing them to make a sharp turn when entering. The gate's stone walls are dramatically marked by numerous bullet holes, silent witnesses to the intense battles of the 1948 War of Independence. Named after the adjacent Mount Zion, the gate has deep historical roots, with its first documented appearance on the Crusader map of Cambrai from 1150. A momentary departure from the wall to visit Mount Zion will lead us to 3 central sites on the mountain: King David's tomb, Dormition Abbey, and the Room of the Last Supper. The Abbey of the Dormition is a Benedictine monastery on Mount Zion, just outside Jerusalem's old city walls, traditionally marking the site where the Virgin Mary is believed to have died. King David's tomb is a historically complex site on Mount Zion in Jerusalem, revered by Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions as a potential burial place of King David. While traditionally considered David's tomb, scholarly debates suggest it might actually be the tomb of Kings Manasseh and Josiah. The building has a rich architectural history with multiple layers of construction spanning centuries. Originally a 4th century Byzantine church, Hagia Zion, it was later rebuilt by Crusaders in the 12th century as the Church of Our Lady of Mount Zion. Most of the current complex dates from the Mamluk period. The site contains 2 significant spaces: the gallery floor, traditionally identified as the Room of the Last Supper, and a lower room believed to be King David's tomb. The lower room is a rectangular space oriented north-south, measuring 4.5 by 6 meters. Interestingly, this site has been a point of religious and cultural intersection, simultaneously sacred to 3 major world religions, which has occasionally led to historical tensions over its significance and ownership. Above the tomb of King David, located a significant site in Christian tradition, the upper room or the Room of the Last Supper, where Jesus established the Eucharist. Measuring approximately 15 by 12 meters and nearly square in shape, this space is associated with several pivotal moments in Christian history. Known in Latin as the Cenaculum or Cenaculum, meaning dining room, the site is also referred to in English as the upper room. While traditionally significant, historians acknowledge that the current building is relatively modern, approximately 800 years old, which raises questions about its direct connection to the original biblical events. Interestingly, different Christian traditions offer varying perspectives on the exact location of the Last Supper site, with the Syrian Orthodox Church, for example, identifying an alternative location in the Old City's St. Mark's Monastery. We will return to the wall through Zion Gate. The southern part of the wall surrounds the Jewish quarter. The Jewish quarter is situated in the southeastern part of Jerusalem's Old City, forming one of 4 historic quarters alongside the Muslim, Christian, and Armenian quarters. However, the concept of these quarters is more complex than it might initially appear. At the beginning of the 20th century, Jerusalem was not municipally divided, and residents were not systematically grouped by religious or national identity. In 1905, for instance, the area now known as the Jewish Quarter had a relatively mixed population with only a slightly higher number of Jewish families compared to Arab or Muslim families. The quadrangular division of the city emerged primarily from European perspectives in the 19th century. This division was based not on population concentrations but on religious centers and pilgrimage sites. European visitors and mapmakers conceptualized the city through this lens, which significantly influenced later administrative and political approaches. The British Mandate period further entrenched this division, using it as a framework for managing settlement patterns and addressing ethnic and religious conflicts. However, the quarters as we understand them today became a true demographic reality only with the rise of national tensions in the 1920s and 1930s. Key turning points that solidified this division included the War of Independence and the Six-Day War, which transformed these quarter boundaries from administrative concepts to more definitive ethnic and national spaces. This historical context reveals that the quarters of Jerusalem's Old City are not timeless, natural divisions, but rather complex constructs shaped by political, cultural, and historical forces over time. Our journey is about to end as we approach the Dung Gate, the entrance to the Western Wall and the Temple Mount. Below them is the archaeological garden that displays the significant layers of the city of Jerusalem. We will present them in future videos.